The sun just came over the horizon, and I wanted to determine the exact spot here. And contrasting to the winter solstice, the 21st of December. This is the point for today and yesterday, basically the same, and the day before. So good. Now I need to get the black felt pen and mark this later. Today is a clear morning, you can see it perfectly on the horizon. The cycles of time that mark our seasons and our days and our hours, and then our years. And this man is here very early this morning at 20 to 6 in the morning, delivering a load of sand for this work. Imagine all the work that went into this. The work that went into building the truck. Nice greeting there from him. I waved. Oh wow, a lot of progress here. I didn't check this out last night. We came back late after the sunset. Maybe you saw the sunset. And you know what? I was kind of sorry afterwards. It was such a beautiful sunset. But, you know, there was also a sunset here. There's a sunset here at Magdala every evening. You know that? Except Sundays. So we do a sunset here. And Paula is the technical master here, setting up everything. And then it's usually set up around here because of different reasons, technical reasons, proximity of Wi-Fi with the cable, and then Wi-Fi with the cable internet connection. And then different members of our team are commenting a scripture. It's a time really of prayer. It's a different kind of sunset. It's not to entertain. It's simply to let you be at the Sea of Galilee at sunset, like Jesus was with his disciples as they learned to pray. It's a time of prayer. If you're interested in that, be sure to join the sunset at Magdala each evening if you want to. You know, obviously in your schedule it'll be a different time, but then of course it's recorded also, so you can see them, you can check them out. Look at this work, the way it's progressing. Isn't that wonderful? I'm just so sorry for the guy who's putting it in, because he wanted me to film him, but he doesn't come this early. But it's turning out to be a nice job, God willing. The first big rainfall will test it, but that won't be seen until probably November. But this will be a wonderful space for groups of pilgrims and events for local people as well. People need space. Need space to do different things. A little baby needs a place to crawl, needs a playpen to be safe. Well, this piece is also done. I think this wasn't done yesterday when we came here. And there's a space needed here for some other things. Everybody needs their space, their little bit of room. They need their... Well, let's go down and check out the shore here, how it's doing. Because I see an opening here that I didn't see before. Everybody needs their space. In our world as well. So many people have a difficult overcrowding, poor housing, and the ability to create space for others. What a beautiful thing. This is your space. You can work here. This is your space. You can play here. You know, the need, I remember as a child in Ireland, there was a drive to create recreational spaces. In fact, we didn't have a place to play our sports, and eventually it was arranged that we could play in the field across from Brogan's shop in our lunch break. I hope the Brogans were compensated for that, because, you know, we used that field, and it was obviously damaged to an extent for the grazing, for the growth of the grass because of all the trampling by the children. But it was a great space for us. It was a big breather when we got that. We were still in grade school when that happened. And then eventually the playground at the school itself was improved, because when it would rain it would get very muddy, you know. And that was a problem, because in the classrooms the children would come in with, we would go in with our boots all muddied up. But we would sweep the classroom floor once or twice a year if it was necessary. Our legs couldn't fit underneath the little seats because the floor level had risen. Can you imagine? People need space. And this is the first reading today. It's amazing. And, you know, today there's fights over oil and energy and even water, imagine. Terrible. Also fights over passageways, you know, sometimes in Ireland between farmers, the rights of way for driving your cattle, the right of watering. And there was a place called the Commons where the different flocks in the area could come to where there was water to water. There wasn't a lot of piping done back in the early 60s, and that became more and more prevalent then, so the water could be brought to where it was needed. But even in rainy Ireland, we had commons for watering, where the different farmers in the area could bring their cattle and have them water. That's interesting, isn't it? And so we look at the first reading today in Genesis. And there we have Abraham and Lot, and their flocks were too numerous for them to be together. And there were conflicts between the herdsmen. You know, the lessons of Genesis are so wonderful, they're so deep, they're so basic, they're so foundational for human life and coexistence. And Abraham is above this. So this raises a question like, what's more important for you? Your space or the people with you? What's more important? What's more important for you? Your space or the people with you? And for Abraham, people were more important. And he says to Lot, you choose which of the two spaces will work better for you, and I'll take the other one. What a way to go. You choose the space that you prefer, and I'll take the other one. And Lot was a shrewd connoisseur of the land, and he saw that the Jordan Valley was richer and more fertile. And he said, I'll go there. Easy choice. And Abraham said, no problem. I'll go in the other place that's not as verdant, not as green, not as lush. I'm happy because for me, it's more important that our family relationship is going to be less troubled. It's more important for me that our family relationship will work, because this is much more higher value in my scale of priorities. You know, it's interesting, we all say, even us priests, you know, and religious leaders, and we can preach a lot of principles, but when it comes down to it, we can still need a lot of transformation. We can be stuck in the dirt. I remember it was great on the farm to have a long day, great light, and get a lot of work done. And we need a long day to work on our souls. God's grace can transform us in a jiffy, in a moment. But sometimes it takes a long life to soften a hard heart, to grow in wisdom. That's a beautiful circle, isn't it? The fire of the sun. And the fire of arrogance and pride that consumes so much, burn it up in relationships and families, in between businesses. We're grateful for this long day. Yesterday, the longest day from sunrise to sunset. And our lives, the length of our lives, to know the length of our days. Wisdom. To survey the world, the meaning of life, the meaning of possessions, and the completely other level of our relatives, of our friends, of people around us, any human being. The whole issue of migration in our world today, the effort, the solidarity to help people's conditions improve so that can have a society that's less warring, more serene and peaceful. A society that allows families to develop in a very positive way, to create the spaces that the others need. The importance of government, like Abraham and Lot had a conversation, and there were tensions and frictions among their people, and how these conversations came to bring reconciliation. Nobody is perfect, neither was Abraham, neither was Lot. Abraham's faults aren't covered over, but he had so many virtues, so many great qualities, and God was at work through him. God chose him to be our leader in the faith, our father in the faith. Abraham, our father in the faith. Leadership. Responsibility. Responsibility for communities, from the family, for one's own siblings, for one's parents when they're aging. To have a good space for everyone, for the grandparents. And Abraham was so blessed, you know. I have a little job for you right now. Can you help me here? I want to take a fistful of this sand here. So we have, actually it'll take a little while for us, but I want you to start counting here the grains of sand. And that's nothing compared to what's in the ground. And where we were walking yesterday at the sunset, you can see it here in the Facebook, over at the northernmost beach in Israel, just south of the Lebanese border. Miles of beach the whole way down to Egypt. And if you look at the shores and strands of all the north of Africa and Italy and California and islands in the Philippines and the beaches of, even little beaches of Ireland, you know, we have some long beaches, great for training horses, great sand, you know. And if you count this, the grains of dust, your descendants will be so numerous. Look at the world today. Half the population of the world holds Abraham as our father in faith. It's really amazing, it's wonderful. It increases our faith and our hope to contemplate also that fact. Abraham was very rich, and Lot also had flocks and herds and tents. Their possessions were so great they could not dwell together. There were quarrels between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and those of Lot's. So Abraham said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, or between your herdsmen and mine, for we are kinsmen." You know, we're all made in the image and likeness of the Almighty. That's the deepest kinship, the most fundamental and foundational. So let us say a prayer in our hearts now for all the leaders of the world, the leaders of families. There's a family business that's in a generational transfer process, and there could be great strife. Maybe it's even the inheritance of the farm, and the farm is not enough for all the children to make a living, so some obviously learn other trades and skills and develop other businesses. Abraham, I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth, as numerous as the dust of the earth. To understand also that the things we have, the car you have, okay, you paid for it, or you might still be paying for it because you have on a payment plan, and it's your car. But at the end of the day, all the material things have been given to us. Even our health, our lives. We have a treasure to administer. It belongs to the Lord. Sometimes we hold on to it like we're the absolute owners. The big heart to let others, to share with others. The meek and the humble, the peacemakers. Peacemakers is also not just about the people who stop a fight going on. Peacemakers are those who lay down foundations for peace to become possible. There's a great story about King Abdullah in Jordan and the I think it was the Prime Minister of Israel, right? Was it Peres, Shimon Peres? And they flew together along the Jordan Valley to decide the border. And they cut some deals, real deals. Maybe they were painful for both sides, different parts of them. But to have peace. I'm not going to go into all the political entanglement of all these situations here, but it's an interesting attitude. It's an example in our time. Let us pray for the leaders in every conflict, from the family situations to the international situations, so that the human beings can be really, really the greatest treasure and not the material things. The Psalm is 15. He who does justice will live in the presence of the Lord. He who walks justly. Who thinks the truth in his heart and slanders not with his tongue. The development of our speech, how we say things about others. Slander is to ruin a person's good name. It's an interesting thing. Check out the difference between slander and calumny. I'm not going to tell you now. You check it out. Slander and calumny. We learned about this in grade school. I remember very well. Check out the difference between slander and calumny. He who harms not his fellow human being, nor takes up a reproach against his neighbor. When Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers up here at the Mount of Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, they shall inherit the earth. The meek, not the arrogant, not the pride, not the proudful, not the despots. All the despots disappear in history. The person who accepts no bribe against the innocent. He who does justice will live in the presence of the Lord. People, let's leave it like that for today. I didn't get to the gospel, but we'll do that at Mass now at 7:15. At the moment, it's just turned 6 o'clock, so in a little over an hour and a quarter, less than an hour and a quarter, we'll be having Mass. Those of you who want to join, afterwards you'll see it later. We let the readings continue talking to our hearts. The Magdala Mass is on the Magdala Facebook and YouTube channels. Experience Magdala is the name of the Facebook page. Experience, just Google that, or look for it within Facebook if you want to follow it. And Experience Magdala Facebook channel will have the Mass live, God willing, if there's no technical problem. So people, let's leave it like that. Don't forget that there's a sunset here every evening, just like you have a sunrise in the morning. Sunrise, stroll and chat. God bless you. See you later, alligators. Great to have you here. Delightful. Almost the longest day of the year, 22nd of June. Have a blessed summer here in the north and a great blessed winter in the southern hemisphere.